Hi, and welcome to Reality Check. I'm your host, Lou Meyer, and this week our guests are Dr. Paige Brown and Evelyn White and Jan Newell, and we're here to talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is affecting a lot of combat veterans who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and who have probably had this since World War II, I guess, and specifically Jan, who has a brother who's a Vietnam vet, has been searching for him for 36 years, and actually, you just found him.
Yeah, I found him on Friday, so it's really ironic that I would be on TV telling about it. So
I guess we'll start with Dr. Brown, and what was I forgot her first question. Sorry.
Let me tell you about the contract that I work with.
Yeah,
I'm
please.
a clinical and forensic psychologist with a private practice in Grass Valley. And for the last 12 years, I've had a contract with the San Francisco VA, which is managed by the Sacramento Vet Center, working with combat veterans. And the way that this program works is that it's for people living more than 50 miles from a VA medical facility, get up to a year of free counseling paid for by the VA. For combat veterans. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with World War II vets, Korea, mostly Vietnam still, Grenada, Desert Storm, and now the Middle East vets are beginning to trickle in.
So when they first started diagnosing people coming back from the war, well, it's probably World War II, I guess, and it wasn't called PTSD in those days, or post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Well, this is nothing new. After the Civil War, it was called soldier's heart. They thought it was a cardiac condition because they were having panic attacks and their hearts were pounding. Then it was shell shock after World War I.
I remember that. Yeah.
Combat fatigue after World War II. And then PTSD became a diagnosis as a result of the Vietnam vet coming home and flooding the VA with all kinds of problems. And it became an official diagnosis in 1980.
Amazing. Well, no, so the folks that you're dealing with, these are, some of these guys are the veterans that live out in the woods. They can't function in society. To me, frankly, it's amazing that anybody can come back from the horrors of war and function in the society that we have today. I don't know how it happens. But how would you deal with these guys? What do they come to you with?
Generally speaking, they come in with big trust issues, and that's why they're living in the woods, although certainly not all of my clients live in the woods. And my first job is to try to make them comfortable and try to establish some trust, establish the rapport that I'm not one of them and that I understand what's going on. And then we begin to work on their problems and start to help them build a life that's more comfortable for them.
How did they find you?
Generally speaking, through the County Veterans Service Office. They'll go there maybe with hearing problems or some health issues. They get screened for the post-traumatic stress disorder, and then they get to me.
Oh, man, it's amazing. Are there a lot of other doctors like yourself that are working with these folks around the country?
Yes. Again, I mentioned that this is managed by the Sacramento Vet Center, and I think there are 207 vet centers throughout the country now. They just opened, I think, 20 new ones, including one in Modesto. How many people have this program for vets living far away from the VA facilities? I'm not sure how many programs there are quite like this.
Now, Evelyn, how many vets do we have here in Nevada County?
About 14,000 in a population of 100,000 in Nevada County. So it's about 1 in 7 citizens in Nevada County are veterans.
And about how many of those do you think are homeless veterans?
It's hard to put the solid figure on how many local homeless veterans there are. We haven't had surveys that would really give us solid information about that. We look at Northern California has about 7,800 estimated homeless veterans. Out of that 7,800, about 2,800 are chronically homeless. So we're looking at approximately, in the population of California, it's like 50,000 veterans in California are homeless. In Nevada County, it's hard to pinpoint because we're a rural area, and it's also where in this rural community, homeless veterans aren't visible. they're up in the mountains. They're in, the rural aspects of Nevada County, and a lot of times that's not numbers we're going to be able to count. They're surviving up there.
And they're not coming down to seek help at all.
We have
At least
some,
not all of them.
right? Yeah, we have some. We have some that come down and seek help. That's one of our biggest challenges, is the outreach to those veterans that are out there that need services.
And you're seeing vets that are coming back from the Iraqi war and Afghanistan now. What kind of age group are we talking about with these folks?
Well, this is unprecedented because of the National Guard. I have a 45-year-old, a 50-year-old, and then I have as young as 19.
What can you do?
Well, I'm finding that the older the veteran, the better the treatment options are, the more invested they are in getting some help, and it seems to have something to do with they went into the military with some life experience, and so when they came home they saw that they were different, and so they were willing to get some treatment to try to get back to where they used to be. You get somebody that's 22, 23 years old who had no life experience beforehand, they come home and they think they're fine, and they need to get out there and have the binge drinking and the brawls or whatever that is, and maybe fail a few times before they're going to come in for treatment.
Boy. Our director, Joe Lidwell, is a veteran as well, and he did a little research for me on the internet about this issue. And he said that, I think it was back in 2005, we were experiencing 4 suicides a day of veterans, and it's up to 18 a day currently. So if you can do any help to prevent that, we're doing something.
Right. Yeah, the estimate that I just read was 1,000 suicide attempts per month.
Attempts.
Attempts. And that the actual suicides are up 46% amongst soldiers in the last 5 years.
Can you probably, guys that are living in the woods aren't watching television, but could you tell folks how they might be able to take advantage of someone like yourself? Well, how could, this is supposed to be a serious show. No, but how would they find you? Would they go to the VA and say, I'm looking for help?
It would be easiest for them, if they're living out in the woods, if they could get themselves to the county service office, Veterans Service Office, and they would be directed to me.
Is there help for folks to get jobs? So say you could reach someone and get them at least talking to you. Is there potential for them to work or to become a member of society again, or do you just help them deal with themselves as they exist?
I try to deal with all aspects of their problems, whether it be social, economic, psychological. I would be making referrals. I don't help people get jobs, but...
No, of course, yeah.
Right.
Some of my friends, so I'm Vietnam era. I did not fight in the war, but I have plenty of friends that came back alive and dead from Vietnam. And it turned me into an activist very early on. And some of those fellas were wonderful guys when they took off, and when they came back, they could barely talk to anybody, and certainly didn't know how to function anyway. And a lot of those guys were indeed in their early 20s at that time. And I haven't kept in touch with a lot of them. Some of them had Agent Orange cancers that happened years and years after they were out of the service.
Right. Well, one thing that I've given some thought to, people sometimes ask me why the Vietnam vet came home and seemed so much more troubled than their World War II fathers and uncles. And the older vets came home by troop ship. They had weeks to debrief amongst themselves, and they came home as heroes. The Vietnam vet was the first one to come home by plane. They were home in a matter of hours, and they came home to a hostile society. So they learned to withdraw, to not talk about their service, even sometimes to deny their service. And so I think that that's the reason that I have so many coming in. Here it is 40 years later for some treatment. They're finally willing to talk.
40 years.
40 years.
What hope is there for these kids in Iraq and Afghanistan now?
The advantage that they have is that they know about PTSD. They know that there are services available. And in their own good time, when they realize that they need some help and are willing to seek help, they know where to go, I think.
Boy. Evelyn, let's talk a little bit about the factors that affect veteran homelessness.
Well, the biggest factor that we see for veterans homelessness, and it's kind of like for all homelessness, is a lack of support from family and friends. And then the other issue is usually financial, the poverty levels. It's, I think Jan's going to demonstrate one of the biggest issues that when she has her chance to talk, but not having that support. We have so many people, they call them near homeless, that are literally sleeping on somebody's couch, family, friend, something like that, that are on the edge. They've either lost jobs or had financial issues, and they're sitting on the edge of teetering, and who knows what the numbers of those are. But the biggest factor that keeps someone from being homeless is family and friends, the support of family and friends.
Some sort of support from
Yes.
you. Now, do vets automatically receive a certain stipend every month or anything, or do you have to be disabled to?
The VA programs for compensation and pension are all related to disability. Some are related to income. It's a pretty complicated process to explain it in a short period of time, but there are options for veterans, and that's where the best thing is to look. The veteran needs to go and look into their options and see what's there. There's some really great homeless programs through the VA. They've really been pushing getting funds out for the homeless programs that VA has sponsored, and they also are pushing funds into community programs to help that. But it's still also getting that veteran in, getting that veteran in for services. The interesting thing about homeless veterans is that they're normally better educated and employed. Sometimes even have homeless veterans who are actually employed, but they still make up at least 25% of the homeless population. So it's an interesting figure that those that served are on the streets, such a large number on the streets.
Yeah. Well, tell folks a little bit about the stand down. That sounds like a great opportunity for vets to get together and at least talk.
Well, the Nevada County Veterans Stand Down is our local stand down that we have here at the fairgrounds every year. It was originated, the stand down concept was originated for veterans probably, I think it's about 20 years ago in San Diego. Mm-hmm. A stand down in the military, the definition of it is when you're on the front lines in the combat zone, when a unit stands down, it comes off the front lines. It's a chance for all the members to kind of take a breath, relax, rest up, shower, clean up, eat well, camaraderie. It's time to laugh and take a step back from the seriousness of being on the fighting line. And the purpose of that is to just gain some energy and build morale to go back out and do it again. And so in the concept of veteran stand down is similar, only it's taking veterans off the streets, giving them a couple days to rest, relax, clean up, check into services, see if there are any things available to them. Veteran services are already out there. There's usually medical clinics out there, dental clinics, places to get haircuts. We have food for the 3 days, places to sleep. It's a chance for homeless veterans to really take some time and find out what's out there for them, and before they have to go back out there again. So that's the goal of the concept of Stand Down.
Do you have folks that go out and try and find these guys?
Stand Down does outreach nationally, and it's still the challenge because you have to have the trust to be able to go out into the homeless camps, and it's that issue of are they going to come in? Right. If you can get someone that they'll trust that can bring them into the resources that are available. It's, I think, one of the biggest issues, PTSD or homelessness, it's always the trust issue.
And through word of mouth, do you find folks taking advantage of some of these programs? Or?
We see quite a few people that come in, and it's usually because, when you help one veteran, they tell another veteran.
They know
and that's
each other,
your best advertising is through word of mouth through veterans. We're kind of saving Jan for last because she has an incredible story to tell. Not being a vet, it's hard for me to think of the right questions to ask you guys. And I don't mean guys, but it's so appalling to me, and especially having had so many friends that have come back with emotionally damaged and sometimes unfunctioning. They just don't know what to do. And again, like you're talking about, alcoholism, drug addiction, violence, bar fights and all those kinds of things. And they've learned some, pretty serious ways to fight, So it's a horrific thing. And
you would think that our government would put a lot of funds behind helping these folks. I mean, they're giving the ultimate sacrifice. That's it. I could, say, oh yeah, I quit my job or do this or that, but I'm still walking around, being me. If you go over and fight a war, anything can happen. And none of us really, except for you folks who are dealing with these people, have any idea what kind of incredible horrors they have to deal with. So, that said, Jen, you've been looking for your brother now for 36 years. And I've read the letter that you sent. You can read parts of it if you wish, but it sounds like he's been trying to avoid his family in some shape, manner, or form.
Well, my mom and I and my brothers and my dad, we've tried to contact him over the years, and we haven't been successful. And you can send a letter to your veteran through the VA, but there's a Privacy Act where they can't tell you where he is. So I've done that, and I've gotten no response. And I've gotten some refusals, too. But this time, I decided I was not going to give up. And so in my search for him, I've been looking for him for 5 months, and in my search for him, I've just had some amazing experiences. And so I decided to write a letter to my brother and read it to you, just to kind of illustrate the process I went through in trying to find him. And I did actually see him and talk to him on this last Friday, so it's a miracle. So if you'd like, I'd like to read my letter to you. And see if my reading this letter to you will help prevent this from happening to the new wave of veterans that are coming back. Is if the family can educate themselves about what they need and are there for them, then it'll be fantastic. So I'm going to read my letter, and I get a little emotional. I'm kind of already starting to get emotional about it, but here we go. If I can do this. Okay, deep breath. Yes.
I don't have glasses.
Okay, I've got to read it. This kid. Here you go. Dear Tom, it has been 36 years since I last saw you in Honolulu. I realize by now that you are not interested in seeing your family. I understand. I want you to know that I love you no matter what, my dearest brother. July of this year, I decided...
Would you like me to read it for you?
Yep.
I have it. Thank you.
Sorry.
July of this year, I decided to find you again and have had some wonderful experiences and met some fantastic people during my search. Miracles have happened so that I might find my long-lost Vietnam veteran brother. Oh, great. You got me going too. All right. I have been reading books on Vietnam veterans' experiences, talked to Vietnam vets, their wives, heard stories about Bush vets so that I might have a better understanding of what happened to my beloved big brother. I have learned many, many things since searching for you. Things about myself, about you, about veterans of combat, about homelessness, about PTSD, the list goes on. I learned about Stand Down, a 3-day camp out that happens all across the nation in different towns. It is designed to provide food, shelter, services, and camaraderie for homeless veterans, a respite from homelessness. 4 out of 10 attendees have come out of homelessness with the help of Stand Down, the most effective outreach program available for our vets. I am convinced that you do not have paranoid schizophrenia, as the Veterans Hospitals told you way back then. You have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. In those days, the effect of war was not defined, and not until the 80s, plus Vietnam vets had it worse because of variable factors. I have learned that our government abandoned our vets, left them out on their own to deal with the horrors of combat, that those horrors have been too impossible to deal with for many who came back.
They either suppressed it to survive, committed suicide, or found ways to deal through isolation in the woods, disassociation, alcohol or drug consumption. I have learned that if your family had known about PTSD, we would have had a chance to get you the help you needed. We didn't know what to do. I remember you went in and out of those VA hospitals. Your friend Big Dave told me you tried to kill yourself twice by cutting your jugular veins and slitting your wrists. We saw you drop in and out of our lives, and then finally you stopped showing up. My letters to you through the Veterans Office were never answered. We found you a couple of times throughout the years. Once, Mom and I found out you lived at Kings Beach, and you had lived there for 4 years in a little cabin and had moved away 3 months prior to us showing up at your doorstep. The manager told us that when you first arrived, you were very angry and wouldn't talk to people, and you were scary. She said you would just hike up and down the highway every day. However, by the time you moved away, you were not so angry and actually said good morning. She had shown you kindness and helped you when you had no food, when your disability check didn't come in. Friends spotted you over the years walking down the roads with your Nam Army boots and green jacket. Hey, we saw Gary down at Discovery Park, or I saw Gary walking down Jackson Road. They saw you with your long hair, your long beard, a thin man walking down Union Mine Road where Grandpa Newell had a deer hunting cabin, where you, me, and the family spent our summers along the Cosumnes River. You've been seen lounging on people's lawns, taking a break from walking in the midday sun. You've been known to have lived in an old shack back in the woods nearby Grandpa's cabin and have been seen living along the bike path in Placerville. Loaves and Fishes, Sacramento, and the Upper Room in Placerville have provided you with meals. You spent many years sleeping at the homeless shelter in Placerville and taking showers there until it closed down 1 year ago. You have slept and eaten in places I will never know about, perhaps in that old abandoned gold mine along Union Mine Road, nearby Grandpa's cabin. There must have been many days where you had nowhere to go or nothing to eat. I have learned that you changed your name, perhaps to disassociate from family, but also to disassociate from that young man who witnessed the horrors of combat in Vietnam. I have learned that your disability check comes around the first of the month, general delivery somewhere, and that you have no permanent address. You go where the wind blows, wherever it makes you feel good. The area of Grandpa's cabin seems like home base. You circle around from Placerville to Sacramento to Hawaii, Washington to Reno, and then back to Grandpa's. I have learned that you keep your distance from other people, and you like it that way. You are stable, healthy, well-fed, and this year you shaved off your long beard. You cooperate with the police and are soft-spoken. You are always clean. Everybody says that you are so clean. You could be getting much more money than you do, but never request claims for it. I have learned that you are very angry that I have been getting closer to you. The same week I showed up at the vet's office in Placerville, you were there 3 days before me, accusing them of telling me where you were. It was a compassionate policeman and my own sister's intuition. I am sorry that you are so angry, but it has been said to me that that is a normal response to be expected. I will back off because I do not want to disturb the carefully woven shell of protection you have built around yourself in order to survive. Please know, my dearest brother, that I love you, your family loves you, and that you will be in our hearts always. My home will always be open to you if you so choose to show up at my doorstep. I will continue to send postcards letting you know where you can find me if you need me. We may never see each other again in this lifetime, and only God knows the reason why you were chosen to take this path of hard lessons. I think of you every day and send you love and blessings, your little sister, Jan.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks, Jen.
That's
So how
hard.
did you
That was
finally
hard.
see the guy, you know?
Well, I'm a pretty good detective by now, and I have a policeman in Placerville that's been very helpful to me. And I contact the Homeless Veteran Service in Hawaii because I know that that's where he was last. And I called up and they said he no longer lives in the Hawaiian Islands. That's all I'm allowed to tell you. And I go, fine. He's coming back to Placerville, I know it. So I called the policeman and I said, Sergeant, I'm not going to say his name, I think he's coming back. Let me know if you see him, give me a heads up. And so 2 weeks later he called me about 10 o'clock at night and he goes, guess what, I talked to your brother today and I told him you were looking for him. And he just said something off the wall like, well, today's my lucky day, I guess I'll have to go to Reno and put some pennies in the slots. And then he must have thought about it for a week and started getting angry that I had found him and went into the vet's office and, raised some hell. Mm-hmm. But last Friday, I just had this intuition that, it's a beautiful day and I can go and I have time and I'm going to go look for him. So I did, and I found him. And what I did is I went back into the police department and there was a man there who'd worked on the force for 30 years and he says, yeah, I know him. This is what you do. You go in the afternoon and you go down Broadway and you'll be headed to the upper room maybe. and see if you see him marching down the road about 3:30. So I waited and I did that, and I saw him. My heart was beating so fast, I cannot tell you. I wasn't sure if it was him because I haven't seen him in 36 years, so I look different and he looks different. So I drove my car ahead of him and I positioned myself on the sidewalk so I could see him. And I let him march right by me, and I'm like, God, I think it's him. He's skinny. That's him. His nose looks a little different, but I think it's him. So I did that about 3 times. I scooted on up ahead of him, and it was him. And so then I figured out that I knew he was going to be going to the veterans, to the upper room, and I saw him there, and I sat down with him eventually, and I told him I was his sister, and he has disassociation. When I told him that I was his sister, he changed the subject, but he did let me sit with him, and he did let me talk to him, and so that was very positive. It was more than I expected, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and I'm going to keep sending him letters, and he can send them back, but I'm going to still keep sending them. So I just hate to see this happen to the young vets that are coming back now.
I know.
So that's why I'm sitting here.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Jen. We're running out of time here. I appreciate all of you coming on and talking about this. Hopefully we can bring all these guys back, guys and women now, back from the wars and let stop war. It's disgusting.
Yeah, we really need to just have no war at all.
I want to, exactly. Now, I'd like to mention, I have a short resource list here. VA Suicide Prevention Hotline in Mather, 800-273-8255. Locally, Sacramento Veterans Center, 916-566-7430. Operation Homefront, 866-424-5210. Please, if you miss any of this stuff and you need any of this information, you can email me at loumeyer@nccn.net, and I'd be happy to pass this on. We have operationhomefront.net, militaryonesource.com, the standby vets. You can contact the VA here if you or any of your family need the help. Please contact these folks. They're here to help you. Thanks for watching Reality Check. See you next week.
Here at the library, people ask a lot of questions.
I'm trying to get a job, but I don't write very well. Can the library help me?
The Read Up department can help. They teach adults how to read and write. Check out the kiosk in the lobby for more information.
Hi, I'm looking for bedtime books for my boys. Benny is 4 and Tom is 12, and Benny likes choo-choo trains and Tom likes zombies.
Choo-choo trains and zombies.
Oh, do you have any activities for my boys?
Sure. Workshops, sing-alongs, and your boys can even read to a dog.
I just lost my job. Can you help me out your resume?
No, but I can help you find a book that can.
Oh, good.
Here you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My computer's broken, and I'd like to get to my Facebook account. Can I use one of these computers?
Sure.
How much does it cost to rent a movie here?
It's free. We also have audiobooks, CDs, and no, our video cassette collection has not gone away.
Dude, I have SATs tomorrow. I need help.
Here's the SATs and the bar exam for when you graduate college.
To the man.
Good luck. You see what I mean? People have a lot of questions. Whether you're looking to improve yourself, need to find the perfect bedtime story, or just need a good novel to read, the local library has all your answers. Excuse me, I've got a book to read.
Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
This battle will go on for a while because now, in addition to the collective bargaining fight, we have all these specific cuts to Medicare, to Badger Care. It will kick 70,000 people off the rolls of Badger Care, to the school systems,